Live from the world headquarters of RT America in our nation's capital, this is the news with Rick Sanchez.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez, and I want to welcome all of you who are watching us from all over the world, and including those of you who are watching on your mobile phones using the portable TV app. Three major American banks are stockpiling money over fears the coronavirus recession could get even worse. Let me tell you who they are. JP Chase, Wells Fargo, Citigroup have all set aside almost $30 billion that they say is going to be there to try and cover loan payments that Americans are increasingly unable to make. Those loans include credit card debt that Americans aren't making, business loans, mortgages in forbearance that are sometimes being delayed, in some cases up to a year, that people are telling their banks, look, I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage for at least 6 months, in some cases a year, depending on the bank, depending on the terms. Joining us now to talk about this is Jason Hartman. Jason is the founder and the CEO of Platinum Properties Investment Network. He's also a very prolific investor in his own right. I guess the takeaway here, Jason, is that banks are looking like they're getting stingy with their money and about to become even more stingy down the line. Am I reading this properly?
Yes, Rick. During the Great Recession, everybody blamed the banks for being too liberal in their lending guidelines and giving out a bunch of liar's loans and ninja loans, meaning, no income, no job, doesn't matter, right? And so now the banks are being more conservative. There's no question about it. Even as they have stockpiled between the three big banks that you mentioned, about $28 billion, we are seeing mortgage applications for both purchases and refinances go through the roof. I mean, consumers, homeowners and home buyers cannot resist these low rates. It's causing an artificial boom in the housing market. And there's a lot of repositioning, as we talked about when I was on with you prior, people moving to the suburbs. But one of my fears is that we'll see what we had seen happen after the Great Recession, or even during, is this, this kind of vicious circle, this cause and effect, where the banks overcorrect. On one side of the pendulum, it swings back and forth, right? They're too liberal, and then they become overly conservative, and then that hurts the housing market, hurts the economy overall. So that's one of the things we need to be mindful of, is that let's hope they don't overcorrect. It is good that they're being careful, for sure, but overcorrection is just as bad.
Let me take you in a different and interesting direction that conflicts somewhat with what you just postulated and with what a lot of people are saying and fearing. And that is that so many people out there are going to owe so much money, and they're taking all this stimulus money, but in many cases they don't have jobs and they're not going to be able to pay down their mortgages. Oh my God, the sky is falling. And that means that eventually we're going to have one hell of a bad economy, right? Okay, Let's go in a different direction. And suppose that all these people are actually not idiots, and because the government is putting money in their pockets, they're able to use it in a wise way and help boost our economy down the road. Is this pie in the sky, or is there a possibility that this could happen as well?
No, it's a very interesting point you raise, Rick, because, the basis of wealth for the individual, the family, or the society is capital formation. And what a lot of people are doing right now, although we don't have any, very detailed statistics on this yet, but a lot of people are using their unemployment money, their bonus unemployment. They may not really be unemployed. A lot of people are gig workers, and you kind of can't tell. They have their own business. It's very hard to really know. And what they're doing is they're not paying their housing payment. They're not paying rent. They're not paying their mortgage. They're in a forbearance program, and they're stockpiling cash. So interestingly, these are strange times we're in. Some people are actually going to come out of this pretty darn well, even if you'd think they have a hardship, because it might show up that they're on a forbearance program, or they're living in an apartment and not paying rent, or getting a reduced rent, or getting some sort of loan workout on a mortgage, either side, renter or homeowner. But they're using that to save money because they're living in their house for free or at a reduced price.
So you're saying that by them stockpiling this cash, what we could actually have is the opposite of what many are predicting, that we could have either a big or small boom economy somewhere in the near future.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. I'd say that as far as the pandemic goes, we're probably in the third inning. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's still early. We're in the third inning, and we've got a ways to go. The economy is definitely in trouble. There's no question about that. But there are definitely some bright signs. I talked about before, there's a shortage of supply in housing, automobiles, a lot of consumer products. So this is the supply-demand shock that we talked about on a prior show.
Great stuff, as usual. Jason Hartman joining us to talk about some of the things that may be happening from an on-the-ground perspective, which is where he lives, by the way, which is not theory or thesis, but actually what's going on pragmatically. Thanks again, Jason. Appreciate it.